So I actually meant for this to be an unboxing video. I opened it up, I looked at everything, and then realized that I was just talking to myself that didn't hit record, which kind of worked out because when I opened it, I kind of did have a little bit of surprise for this hitter. Now, a little backstory why I'm doing this hitter in particular is my S10 I've had for like 15 years. I bought a pace hitter. I've went through 2 of those, and my second one is now leaking. Hitters at some point, if they're not true stainless steel or something, at so many years, especially in the East Coast with moisture and stuff, at some point they're going to rust out. They didn't make a hitter, so they quit making that previous hitter. That one worked pretty good on the truck. Now, couldn't find really, the only other company I could find is from California. It seems to be a smaller run facility. If this doesn't work, I'm going to try to reach back out to them, see if I can get in contact with them. I tried to put an order there. But this one is off Amazon. And in Amazon fashion, there is no reviews. So, and this is supposed to be a stainless steel hitter. Now, the one thing, when I start looking over it, it actually kind of works out that like it did, because some of the welds and the coloring and stuff like that, and then the material, and I'll go over that here in just a second, kind of didn't feel like I was too qualified to talk about it. So, as you're looking this over, you can see they're fully welded on the inside. And now if this was, everything was stainless, I'd have a little bit more of an opinion. And the thing that kind of made me a little nervous is that's not stainless steel. Now, some stainless you can stick a magnet to, but that right there, that's not holding up on its own. That is definitely holding on. So that's a kind of a mild steel there. Now, the flange, which just doesn't bother me at all, that's a mild steel. And then I'll show you the hardware that comes with. It's going to be that, which again, steel. The connections here being steel really didn't concern me. Now, here goes your piping that you're going to do. Now, that's actually stainless too, so you got to mount that in. It's going to be, this piece is going to slide in and go up through there. That's what's going to mount up to the header, and then this is going to go back. So now the mild steel, I was honestly hoping, including the flange itself, I was really hoping this, and that was kind of my hang up of almost just sent it back just because of this being steel. Talked with a guy who does a lot of fabrication and stuff. He said the welds and the coloring and stuff, this is a possible application. If done right, it can last for a good while. And the welds and everything to him didn't look bad. I will take his word for that because he is 100 times more, when you start talking about mixed metals and stuff like that, a mild steel or stainless steel, something like that, or aluminum. I'm kind of familiar with how all those should work. When you start mixing metals, this is getting some sorcery that I don't know nothing about. But the big question here, and we're going to find out, and that's more important, is does this actually fit? Do you have to maybe tweak something, fabricate something? But yeah, overall, not too upset really for the quality. Wish that was stainless, but again, next step, we're going to see if this fits in the truck, how it sounds, if it does fit, or if we're going to have to send it back. I'm hoping this works. Oh, and also the one other comment that he made that I wasn't aware of is he said that the heat cycle, from a heat cycle standpoint, the flange will work more with stainless steel than it will a mild steel like that. So that's hopefully a positive. But again, stainless, you know, really don't have to worry about rusting. But this is a pretty thick flange. Now, when you look at hitters, it's typically about that same very thin metal on a hitter. So being as this flange is thick, that's a little hopeful point. And then him telling me that, just kind of 2 little thought processes I didn't originally say there. So, but yeah, let's figure out if this is gonna work. Also, if you're wondering, it does come with the gasket for the flange there going between the header and the motor as well, so you don't have to order that. At first peek I didn't show it, so, but yeah, it's in with the equipment. Once again, everybody's sound's going to depend a little different on if you have any type of intake, muffler. I still got a little exhaust leak down the line, but that is the stainless steel Amazon header in there. Now it is tight, it is a job, but you know what? I'm actually not upset with it either. Now in order to do this, you are going to have to remove your air compressor, at least unbolt it and kind of like pivot it off to the side, along with the power steering. You're going to have to get in here to get that header to go in. It's not going to slide up the other way, unfortunately. It'd be nice if it did, but it doesn't. So realistically, again, if you're fairly mechanical, probably playing 3 or 4 hours if it's a bolt unbolt job for you. And I'll show kind of tie down connection here in a second. That is my old one here. And what happened, it's probably gonna be hard to pick this up on the GoPro, but the welds down in there actually rusted to the point that it started kind of baffling up through here. Let's put in a stethoscope. Now the two pieces I didn't use, and I'll explain that. And I think they'd work for an average bolt-on. My exhaust, I've had it for a really long time. Humidity, this, that, and other. I've had some rust on the exhaust and had to replace it a few times. Now this is the down pipe for the pace setter. Not saying China didn't do some copying here, but, and I'm not 100% sure if this would work, but it's pretty daggone close. It probably would. Now I'm gonna take this down in the pit here, and again, that goes, you know, in, and that's your down pipe over there. Comes through here. That's where they connect in together. But I feel like it's probably a bolt-in. And since I now know this header does work, and I've had it for a couple months now, I am going to include an Amazon affiliate link. I bought this out of my own money, wouldn't share it if it didn't work. And it's an easy way to help the channel if you have a 4-cylinder S10 and looking for a header. This is where I didn't do the full bolt-in job, but I feel like it would be. If you notice that to that, again, anytime you get into cheaper kits, every now and again you might have to cut or tweak or do something. Now with me, and the reason I didn't, if you don't notice, that is rusty crusty. Last time I took this out to put a clutch in or whatever, like, this was a lot of time in a torch and kind of questionable if I can pull this back off and back again. So local exhaust shop, they did me a little down piece right here, and best I can tell holding the piece up, it looks be pretty much the exact same way the pace hitter is. So if you got something you can disconnect here fairly easy, I feel like that's the case. Cheated, or I'm saying cheated, but I'm just trying to prolong this a little bit more. At some point, something with the cat or down the line is going to rust a little bit more, and I'm going to have to do something with this. But hey, just pushing another problem down a little bit of road. But I do feel like it would either bolt together or be very close to bolting together with a slight tweak. Worst case scenario, maybe take it to your local exhaust shop, let them get a bend or a tweak. But all in all, seems like a fairly inclusive kit. And you can kind of tell it's the old pace setter right there, but I mean, now I'm looking at both, it looks like they did a lot of copying. You can kind of see how outside is steel and steel, tack weld, then inner weld there, so kind of the same concept. Curious if this maybe wasn't copied, but a very similar design there. And let me know in the comments. I've done about everything you could do the Wings 2.2 things, but I'll make it a separate video. But if you want to know kind of what you can potentially pull out of one of these engine performance wise, sound off in the comments. Not sure, I feel like that's quite a bit talked about comment on Facebook, the marketplace, this, that, and other, but sound off. If that's something you want to hear, I can kind of give you the breakdown of what I've spent as far as doing some of these add-ins, what the end result is, stuff like that. But till the next project, hope you have a good one. If you appreciated the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Again, the reason I'm doing the video is I couldn't find a good review or a link to a aftermarket Amazon, eBay header that had been installed. So I kind of wanted to show it, prove that it does actually work, because I bought it, and I bought it from Amazon specifically for that 30-day window, because if I went to put this in there and it didn't work, I'd be bolting the old rusty one right back in here and shipping that back to Amazon. But it did, so cheap, happy ending so far. Hope you have a good one.